Hi and welcome to You Little Ripper. I'm Kurt Fearnley, former Paralympian, and on today's show, we've got the greatest Paralympic swimmer of all time, Ellie Cole!
I feel like I wanted to go, Ellie Cole, greatest swimmer of all time. I'm Georgie Tunny, ABC sports reporter, and as per usual here on You Little Ripper, we are broadcasting from Wurundjeri country.
Look, I'm going to address something head on from the top of the show on a day that the Australian government announced that our Paralympic medal winners will receive the same financial reward as our Olympians. Kyle Sandilands, he made an abhorrent comment about the movement. I'm not going to repeat it. It's not worth it. Paralympians, we are bloody brilliant. I love that we've created a space here at You Little Ripper that is the opposite to the space that's echoed through Kyle's words. Look, it's not the first person who have tried to mock the Paralympic movement, but we have risen to the third biggest multi-sport event in the world, despite of that. The thing that is tough to get through is this idea that there is a huge audience who hear that, who laugh at that, and go into the workplace where they could sit across from a person with a disability and you have no idea that they have this thing going through their head. So as a Paralympian, you sit there and you wonder, how widespread is it? But we can't control that. Mm-hmm. What we can control is creating our own foundation and building on this wonderful Paralympic movement. And you, the listeners, you are also a part of this movement with us. So keep on board. Don't be a Paralympic fan for 2 weeks every 4 years. Follow the movement, follow your athletes, and that's about all I can say about that.
We're not going to give it any more airtime, Kurt, and I want us to focus on what makes us happy and us ecstatic, and that is the Paralympic movement. And what we need to be highlighting is our You Little Ripper moments of the last 24 hours, because it's the complete opposite of that. It's bringing everyone joy. And Kurt, I think for the first time, maybe ever, we agree.
We definitely do agree on this one. We mentioned it at the beginning of the week. Mm-hmm. There were two Afghani Paralympians who were extremely vulnerable. To see them go from that incredibly vulnerable place to being able to get to the Paralympic village, to be able to now compete. Look, I am so proud that Australia played a role in this, and I have to do a shout out to the organisation Human Rights for All, Craig Foster, Moya Dodd, Nikki Dryden, Alison Batterson, the Australian government for seeing this vulnerability and working in a multinational coalition to make sure that these two Paralympians found a way to safety. Hussein Rasooli competed earlier on in the week, on Tuesday, in the T45 long jump. He ranked 13th but jumped a personal best. Zakia Kudadadi yesterday became the first woman to compete for Afghanistan in the Paralympics since 2004 in Taekwondo, the women's 49 kilo K44 repechage and the women's 49 kilo K44 round of 16. A wonderful story. The reason why I haven't spoken about it, because if you speak about it before the athletes are where they are, the story becomes about you. And this has really, I couldn't stand to see that happen. Mm-hmm. And I know that the news sometimes grabs hold of people and they churn them out and they disappear on the other end, where I think that these athletes need to be given the respect and space to rebuild their lives. I wish them nothing but the best. And in that rebuilding process, I'm sure that the Australian community will be there as they were when they were outside the gates at Kabul airport. And I hope, should that time come, we will be ready to jump in. But at the moment, I think it is best just to let the athletes find their place, find their journey, and rebuild something that is purely about them.
And if that doesn't sum up the Paralympic movement, I don't know what does.
It's greater than the green and gold.
Yes.
It is worldwide. Well, we've got to get into the best of the rest. I'm going to start it off. Stuart Jones in the road race. He would cross the line in 9th, but when he found that he was out of the medal contention, he would drop back to South Africa's Tony Mould, and she was an hour off the pace in her race, and he pushed with her all the way to the finish line, cheering, supporting.
Helping her up the hill.
It was a Cedric Dubler movement,
yes.
And that is what we love here. Looking after your fellow athletes, being there to support, and sometimes it might even affect your result a little bit. But Stuart sees the greater impact. He sees that we are part of something that is bigger than one individual result, and that was just the perfect representation of it.
It was, and we saw the such difficult conditions that our cyclists have been having to contend with over the past couple of days in particular. Yesterday, no exception. More monsoonal rain. Again, couldn't see the athletes half the time on the course. It was exceptionally dangerous conditions. So for Stuart to ride with Tony up that hill and give her that support was truly so wonderful. We're also going to give a shout out to Carol Cook, who had a really heavy fall in her event yesterday, had to be hospitalised overnight, took quite a bit of skin off. So Carol, the You Little Ripper community, we're right behind you and we wish you a really speedy recovery, because that was a moment yesterday watching those races, the road race, where my heart stopped.
Yeah.
And not in a good way.
Look, that was really tough to watch. Carol is one of the most loved members of the Paralympic team. She is the person who was put forward as a nominee for the International Paralympic Committee's Athlete Council. That's the level of respect that the community have of Carol. All of us, our heart sunk when we saw that as defending champion. Look, and it still does. I can't wait to see her talking and being able to come back on camera and receive the love and support that she does deserve.
Also, best of the rest last night. I can't go past the pool. Shocking. Breaking news. Breaking news.
Pat Dolphin, Georgie Tunny.
But seriously, 3 golds in the pool last night and a bronze. I mean, this performance of the Dolphins at Tokyo 2020, exceptional. But I want to start with Will Martin, because he has 3 gold medals to his name.
Oh, just 3?
Just 3.
Well.
Just a cheeky 3. Or a sneaky 3, if we quote Isis Holt. He was back in action last night and he won the 100-metre butterfly so fast. This time was exceptional for him. A world record, a gold medal. And then he really did inspire what happened next in the pool. So he was up first. Then it came to Ben Hance, who won gold in the 100-metre backstroke S14. If you haven't seen his post-race interview, please go and watch it. He is divine. And then we had Rachel Watson win back-to-back golds in the women's 50-metre freestyle S4 final.
Rachel Watson, the way that she spoke yesterday, the gold medal was amazing. It was incredible. I loved to see her get off the block. She got off so fast and got her break and held it the entire way through to the finish line. But her interview, where she speaks about people with disabilities who are just acquired or kids with disabilities, where she said that you are going to hear so many people saying it's too hard or they can't, but you have to go through it. You have to continue this path. These themes that keep coming through, I love how many of my team have really adopted it. I can't believe I just said it's my team. It's definitely not my team. I am now the biggest fan of the team. But I just loved that interview. It brought everybody to tears because her refusal and her resilience and her ability to just persevere, it's second to none. And it was a fantastic race.
I think you still have a little bit of a stake in the Paralympic team, Kurt, even though you've retired. I'm pretty sure that you're allowed. You're allowed to have some of it.
I do still wear my lycra to bed every night. So
there's proof.
There I am.
There you are.
Still a Paralympian.
Still a Paralympian. And also shout out to Rach with her gold nails last night. Don't think I didn't see them, Rach, so that was a wonderful omen in your performance. There was bronze as well in the medley relay, our women's team. And a little bit of a teaser here, audience. We may have the most successful Paralympic swimmer of all time who was a part of that relay team joining us very, very shortly. So I don't want to talk too much about it, because we are going to hear from the superstar Ellie Cole shortly.
Back in the athletics, Vanessa Lowe, she won gold in the women's long jump T63 after breaking her own world record 3 times in the comp.
This is the thing that blows my mind. Not once, not twice, 3 times in the one competition, she's broken her world mark. Vanessa Lowe, the images that are coming out of that final, the still photographs, Google them, because they will just take your breath away. She is the embodiment of what an athlete is.
Vanessa represents so much. She is just so strong and she is so skilled, but she is also so warm and sharing. Seeing her talk to her husband, Scott Reardon, who's another Paralympian, and talk about this medal as if it is theirs, as she's going to compete.
What a love story.
As she's going to compete, she says, I'm going to do this for us. That was just, it's so, one, I know Scotty really well. I know Vanessa pretty well, but to see them so happy, content and excited about the future, that's amazing. And of course there's drama in the Paralympics movement. Another shout out for Maria Strong, who won a bronze medal in a Paralympic debut at 50 years of age. A huge shout out to Maria. I love to hear this story. I love to see you get that bronze medal, and what a day at the track.
Not only a bronze medal, but an Oceania record. Like, that's how far she threw. So congratulations to Maria Strong.
But we've spoken about it multiple times. Who's coming on the show? The greatest Paralympic swimmer of all time.
Time.
Ellie Cole. Ellie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. And I will never get used to that title, ever.
Well, you're gonna have to keep it. We're demanding it.
I know. I was thinking last night, 17 Paralympic medals. I think I might have that title for a few games because, most swimmers compete in 4 or 5 events per games, and I was doing the maths and I was like, okay, so I should have that record for at least another 8 years.
Well, you do have some competition, and one of the most beautiful moments that I've seen of your career is the way that you speak to the teammates around you. You were in a race yesterday with an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 15-year-old, and the generosity and the kindness and the advice that you're giving is just beautiful. How have you reflected on those moments?
It's certainly been a very unique experience here. I remember coming into Tokyo a few weeks ago, and we had already been on the road for 10 weeks as a swim team. And so for our team to be able to walk into the pool before the competition had even started, it felt like such a celebration. And I'd never gone to a Paralympics before where we were already celebrating before we even began. And so to be able to share that moment with my team, like, of course, we're going to be very close. And of course, I have so much respect for my teammates. It doesn't matter if they're at their first games at 15 years old, or if they're at their third games, or if they're like Matt Levy at their 5th games. Everybody has an equal amount of respect from me just to be able to stand up and represent Australia and just be at Tokyo, because it's such a long slog to get here.
Look, for those that didn't hear your advice that you gave to Isabella Vincent, can you let the You Little Ripper audience hear those words as well?
I know you're a big fan of Izzy's. I saw your mug yesterday, by the way. It was great. I wanted Izzy. I really want one of those. I just told Izzy just to keep enjoying herself. A lot of people see elite sport and think that it has to be very serious. And of course it's very serious, but it doesn't mean that you can't go out there and just enjoy it, because we all started our Paralympic journey because we just loved being a part of sport. We loved the drive. We loved the push. We loved the feeling of just being equal to the person next to us, which is why, the announcement by our government was so historic. But just always enjoy yourself. And, there are countless times over my 16 years on the swim team where I found myself going against my gut and feeling like I wasn't in a sport that I loved anymore. And, I found my way back again. And Tokyo was by far the most enjoyable experience that I've ever had. It was just so special.
How has the recognition of the Paralympic Games from the wider Australian community, the wider international community, how has that changed throughout your Paralympic career?
Oh, it's like you can't even put into words just how different the Paralympic experience is between Beijing and Tokyo. Within the team, it all feels the same. But I really noticed it this week when the Australian public, they didn't recognise that our Paralympic athletes weren't being paid equally to our Olympic athletes. And the support from back home and the outrage from back home, like I've never seen a country almost bully our government into equal rights before. And I was trying not to get involved because I was still competing, but I was receiving so many messages of support from back home, and our Australian public recognise our Paralympians as equal, and they wanted that to be recognised by the government as well. And I feel like back in Beijing 2008, that recognition wasn't quite there yet. The passion from the athletes certainly was, but it took a while longer for Australia to recognise just how close our team was, how passionate our team was, just to represent our country. And so, to be able to see the support from back home this week, and to be able to, see even just Paralympic athletes broadcasting our Paralympics, one of their own. It just, like, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. It's incredible. It's everything that I've ever dreamed of.
The support is out of control. There are above $1.5 million raised in the Virtual Sea campaign, which is incredible. The government then throwing in an additional, what could be 600,000, maybe more. It was an amazing day yesterday. There are huge parts of Australia, Paralympic fans, that have a favourite Ellie Cole moment. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering what your favourite moment is. 17 medals over the extended journey of your career. Is there one medal or moment that stands out to you of yours?
One medal. That's a really tough question. I think, like, the standout medal for me probably goes back to Rio. It was a 100-meter backstroke event, and I was on day 9 of the competition. And you always forget how tiring a Paralympics is, but believe me, when you hear this, by day 9, you're exhausted. And I was going into that race as favourite and the world record holder, and I hadn't been beaten in 3 years. And I had so much self-doubt. Like, it's incredible how much your mind can just attack you in such moments of high stress. And I ended up winning that event, but it was very mentally tough to be able to just even get out onto the pool deck. And it just made me realize, like, when you're a kid and when you're watching Paralympic or Olympic athletes on the TV, you think they're superhuman, you think they're invincible. But when you're in the moment yourself, you feel so vulnerable. You feel like so much more vulnerable than you ever thought you would. And, you just have to remember why you're competing, why you started, and who you're representing back at home. And that was enough just to get me out onto the pool deck and win that gold. It was so special. And it also was a huge life lesson for me to never, ever, ever wear mascara on a medal podium.
Oh, yes. I feel like everyone who wears mascara has at least one of those moments where you're like, never again, never again. That was silly. That was really silly.
Any other advice you would give to someone who is in a moment that they really want to nail, but the nerves, the anxiety, the blood pressure's up? What do you say to that other than remind yourself you love what you do? Is there positive affirmation, visualization, all of that stuff?
I think you just have to throw everything in the toolbox at yourself. The positive affirmations definitely work for me. And I know for a lot of people on my swim team, just thinking about your breathing makes such a huge difference. You don't even realize you're hyperventilating until you've already hyperventilated. Cole Pierce winning his bronze medal in Tokyo, he had hyperventilated so much to the point where he had pins and needles in his hands before he got up on the blocks. So focusing on your breathing is a big thing. But what really got me out onto the pool deck in Rio when I was feeling that way was just telling myself, like, what if this works out? If it doesn't work out, it's fine. But what if it does? What if you can win this? And I think just giving yourself a shot and just taking that leap of faith, like, you just got to take the leap of faith. Anything that is scary is usually worthwhile in the end.
Talking about things that could be scary, has it sunk in yet that you will be saying goodbye to the games, and how will you do it?
Yes, it sunk in pretty hard yesterday when I was warming up. I'm very, very fortunate that I work in a sport where I can wear goggles and nobody can see me crying. Now, I was warming up for my last ever Paralympic event yesterday, and I kept getting out and sitting on the side and just taking the moment in, and I had tears coming out of my eyes. And I said to my coach, I was like, I'm so emotional. I don't think I can do this. And he's like, you've worked 16 years on the team for this moment. And so it was very special. But it was also wonderful, as I was leaving the Paralympic village, I bumped into Riley Batts, who, he could be pulling on his jersey for the last time as well. Who knows? But he said to me, like, it hits you like a train when you're there, that it could be your last time, and it really did. It's a scary moment, but like I said, we've got so many great swimmers on our swim team. So I just looked around yesterday and I was like, wow, like we've got a really strong team here. And like I'm still going to be involved in their journey, just not necessarily in an athlete capacity. It might be in a different capacity, but I'll be their biggest supporter for the rest of their lives, let me tell you.
Challenge accepted, Ellie.
Well,
Challenge
I'm
accepted.
going to upgrade you from a mug to maybe a face tattoo of one of them. I'm going to get an Izzy Vincent face tattoo. You will never be able to beat that, Kurt, ever.
I won't. I remember the night before, in the morning before my marathon in Rio, and I did the exact same thing. I'm sitting in a hotel room on my own, about to go to the start line, and I burst into tears.
Wow.
And I had no idea. It's like you're not sure why, but you know exactly why. Mm-hmm. Ellie, what has the Paralympic movement meant to you?
Oh, it's been huge. Goosebumps again. I grew up watching Paralympians on TV, watching you, Kurt, on TV. And I saw these strong, powerful athletes who just gave it their all. And of course, I wanted to join ranks with some of those athletes. My biggest inspiration when I was a kid was Amanda Drennan, who I'm sure you would know. Mm-hmm. And she showed me so much kindness when I was younger, and I just really wanted to be her. And then, Natalie Dutoit from South Africa, one of the very few Paralympians who's also been to an Olympic Games, she was my biggest competitor and mentor when I joined international swimming. But for me, when I think about the impact that Paralympic sport has had, I think that, I look back to when I was younger and I was treated very differently. I was segregated so many times in my life. And, I saw the Paralympics, and for once in my life, I saw people who were different and people who had a disability. They were finally being just celebrated, and no one had ever really celebrated me just for being me before. And I know that Paralympic athletes, they're athletes as well, but at a Paralympic Games, people are celebrating the athletic performances, but they're celebrating the people so much more. And that really shone this week, finishing 5th in my 100 freestyle, which I was very happy with, but people were just still celebrating, me as a person as well. And it warmed my heart so much just to feel included and to feel valued, which is why this week has been very, very emotional. There has been a lot of hotel room crying, let me tell you.
Hopefully with no mascara on, because we learned that lesson. Ellie, you've gone from the kid that didn't feel like they quite fitted in to now having cardboard cutouts of themselves where kids are taking photos with you across grocery stores around the country. I hope you are feeling the love. I hope you're feeling the support. You may have won 17 Paralympic medals in the pool, but your biggest challenge is yet to come, and it's called Fast 5.
I am never ready for this. This is so stressful. This is more stressful than last night's race. Okay, let's go.
All right, Ellie, number 1. What do you wish you had in the village but you can't get?
Oh, just a fluffy doona to cuddle into.
Ellie, what's your superstition?
I don't have any superstitions at all. My favourite thing to do is to actually watch everybody else's superstition.
Who's had the weirdest one?
Okay, so I'm good friends with Alicia Coots, who was one of our Olympic swimmers. No one ever knew what she was doing, but I did. She used to lift her eyelids up and blow air up into her eyelids to try and keep her eyes feeling fresh or something. But it kind of looked like she was just covering her eyes behind the blocks. But I was like, yeah, she's blowing that air. She's blowing that air hard. She's ready. That was a weird one.
No, I love that. I don't know what
I'm going to try it.
Well, why not? Just before you go for a run and start to fly, there you go.
Yeah, that's going to help me.
All right. Firstly, I don't know why you were so emotionally healthy and not having superstitions, but that's behind us all now. Ellie, what is your all-time favourite Paralympic moment?
I think my favourite Paralympic moment from this Games was to see the Aussie Bells making their quarterfinals. It was amazing. So they had won their first goal ball match in 25 years. And they were so overjoyed. And then the next day, I bumped into them into the elevator, and they were talking about how they had won. And I thought they were talking about their first match, but they had won 2 matches in a row. And we just hugged each other in the elevator and started jumping up and down. And I was a bit worried for us for a second that we'd fall down the elevator shaft because we were so excited. But, just to see them work so hard for so many years and to finally put a win under their belt, like, it was so great. And to see a team do it as well. Like, I just love team sports. I felt like I was a goalball athlete myself for that split second. I was so excited.
Who's your favourite teammate?
My favourite teammate would have to be Rowan Crothers.
We love Rowan, friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod, as were the Aussie Bells.
Did you see his medal strutting video that he posted online, though? It was
Did we see it? I'm responsible for about 1,000 of the views.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. I just can't believe that he put that out in the public eye. But I have known Rowan since he was about 9 years old and as a junior athlete. And I've seen how much he has wanted to win a Paralympic gold medal, and for him to be able to see it, and not only see it, but to get on the lane rope and flex his muscles was just, it brought tears to my eyes. It's so wonderful to be able to see an athlete from being a young boy to a fully grown gold medalist, manly man.
Ellie, if you weren't our most successful Paralympic swimmer of all time, what event would you be in?
Well, this is a question I've been contemplating actually over the last few days. I was speaking to Lauren Parker about doing triathlon, but then I watched her triathlon, and it was, marathon races and triathletes. It's basically a sprint from the finish, from the beginning.
Correct.
And it just looks really painful. So I'm thinking a sport that maybe isn't. I was actually speaking to the archery guys at breakfast this morning, and I was telling them about how I play this archery game on my phone. And they were like, yeah, it's not the same thing.
No, it definitely would translate.
Yeah, I feel so. I feel like you've already started training. So that's good.
Yeah, I was like, you've just got to look at what the wind's doing, and you've got to just time the shot right. And then all of a sudden at breakfast this morning, I was telling elite archers how to do their sport, and I was ashamed of myself very quickly.
Ellie Cole, thank you for coming on, you little ripper. Congratulations on an amazing career. May you come back home and receive all the plaudits that you are well and truly deserving of. I love your work, mate. Congratulations, and I hope to see you around.
We love you, Ellie. God, I love Ellie Cole. Can I come back in another life and be Ellie? Is that allowed?
I think it is.
Yeah, she probably has an AVO against me though, so I should probably keep it on the DL that I want to become her.
It would make good television. I'm not going to lie.
It would.
Wonderful person, our greatest Paralympic swimmer of all time, but also one of our greatest people. Just an amazing person.
And also such an advocate of the Paralympic movement, which you have so much passion about, Kurt, as well. We touched on it there with Ellie, the announcement from the Australian government yesterday that they would match the medal bonuses that we've seen our Olympians get, and Paralympians will now be able to receive that as well. Kurt, what did you think when you first heard this?
Look, any money that goes into the Paralympic system, I am a massive fan of. The Olympic movement and the Paralympic movement, in my head, that we are very different. That may actually change over the coming years. Mm-hmm. The next generation of Paralympian, they get to own what it is to be a Paralympian, and I'm all on board with it. We have made some amazing gains over the Paralympic movement. Our athletes, through the Australian Sports Commission, they do get equal, it's called direct athlete support, it's called DAS, and that is equal to our Olympic counterparts. The medal bonus for the Olympic team is paid by sponsors from the Olympic movement, with a different board, a different executive,
right,
a different bunch of sponsors. So there are two completely distinct organisations that have completely distinct cultures as well. But there is always a line drawn between them because we are parallel to the Olympic movement. Yes. The Paralympic movement doesn't have the same support of commercial Australia as our Olympic counterparts do. They don't have the bank account that the Olympic counterparts do. So paying a medal bonus is a way to recognise athletes, but I think that for an efficient use of funds, the Paralympic movement puts its money into the development of new athletes. They put their money into making sure that the team arrives in wherever the location is as best prepared as possible. So it's about splitting money over the preparation period over 4 years versus a reward for the exceptional performance on that given day.
Yes.
To have both, amazing. And the government have seen that when commercial Australia, there is a bit of a market failure, I think that the government feels that they can step in and do something there, which is what happens. So kudos to the Australian government. Amazing for our athletes, and hopefully we can make this sustainable. But the only way that we make this sustainable, in my opinion, is it not to be left to government. We need all the supporters of the Paralympic movement to reach out to the sponsors of it, to tune in to the stories that are created around the Paralympic movement, to buy into it, not just every 4 years. If we bring Australia with us, we will be able to create a Paralympic movement that doesn't require assistance, that is financially stable, and that is when we will start to see real equity growing amongst the Olympic movement and the Paralympic movement.
We are celebrating it though, and there's a whole bunch of medals and some bonuses, but medals on offer once again for Team Australia throughout today. Day 10, it's the final day in the pool, Kurt. I don't know how I'm going to handle it, because I know that when it was the Olympic Games and the Dolphins finished their campaign there, I was really down. I was down for a while after that. So, I mean, I might need you to just check in on me, see how I'm doing. How I'm doing.
Welfare check.
Yeah.
Another huge day in the pool. We've got Cole Pearce, friend of the pod, Jasmine Greenwood, Kira Stevens, Tiffany Thomas-Kane, Grant Patterson. There's also the 4x100 metre relay with Will Martin. Can he have a crack at a fourth gold medal as part of the Australian Paralympic team in Tokyo? And also in the paracanoe and kayak, we have the men's kayak single 200 metre semi-final with Curtis McGrath. He's back in action, a star of the Paralympic movement.
Curtis McGrath yesterday, his two performances to get through to these finals in the kayak and the canoe, I was stressed. Were you stressed?
He wasn't gentle on us, was he?
No, because neither of those, by his own admission, neither of those races probably ended the way that he was hoping they would. For everyone who may not have seen them, just slight deviation of the crafts that he was in. So whether or not he was going to get disqualified at times, but the times themselves were still very, very fast. So Curtis McGrath back in action today. As always, we do want to hear from you what your favourite moments have been. We also want to shout out what your You Little Ripper moment has been, your favourite one of the entire game. So not even just in the last 24 hours. What is the moment of these games that you would just... that is the moment that struck the chord with you? Let us know. Hashtag You Little Ripper, hashtag YLR, tag at ABC Sport, tag myself at Georgie_Tunny, tag this man,
Kurt Fearnley.
and let us know, because honestly, all of the support, all of the feedback, we've been loving it here. Remember to go to our YouTube channels as well and check out the Auslan translations. They are available there. If anyone needs them, send them on, share it on, because we want everyone celebrating the Paralympics.
You Little Ripper! See you soon.